Good morning. I thought I'd do my post today, sat in my garden because it's so lovely. So my post might come across today as a little bit controversial. It's Armed Forces Day today. And my husband has lived with a form of PTSD for around 8 years. He was pushed out of the Navy, made to leave because of mental health back in 2011. He suffered an injury while on training on Dartmoor, and he dislocated his knee, and he had to carry on training with a dislocated knee. He then got quite depressed, and he failed some of his exams, and as a result of that, his career in the Navy ended. He then had to try and come out and work in so-called Civvy Street. And he made his life. He got it back together, but his first marriage broke down. He had to move away from Culdrose, where he lived at the time. There were no jobs down there for him. He left his ex-wife, his 2 children there because they stayed, and he had nowhere to live. He would have been homeless if very close friends of his in Portishead hadn't taken him in and given him a home. It was around about a year later that we met, just by chance, and got together, and the rest is history. But it has been a tough 8 years where he's been in and out of mental health, etc. And we've supported each other along the way. My husband then decided a couple of years ago that he wanted to go back into the Navy Reserves. I didn't think it was a very good idea because it was bringing up the past, etc. And he had to go through a lot of loops, but because he had a diagnosis of depression, etc., on his medical records, he wasn't allowed to go back into the reserves because he was classed as too crazy for the Navy, basically. Because he'd done a lot of work as a volunteer, though, for the reserves, we were invited along to a couple of mess dinners, which are these formal dinners that you can attend. And last year I had to bite my tongue when one of the speeches was done by one of the flag officers, which are the senior ranking officers, when he did his speech and said, how the armed forces now recognise mental health in the forces. And they just clearly don't. They are so far behind. I think they do recognise mental health in some aspects. So you've got, the Invictus Games, which Prince Harry does a fantastic job with. And I've met a lot of them. I trained with Team True Spirit last year when I was recovering from my own injuries after a serious accident, and I did a half Ironman with them. And these guys are phenomenal. They have got serious injuries, serious mental health issues, and they just get on with it. And there is a lot of support out there for Help for Heroes, Band of Brothers, etc. But for the people who are still serving, or some people who have come out and they've got the mental health issues, some diagnosis of PTSD, there is no support at all. And my husband has to go off and get his own support, and he's just been left basically just thrown out. He has no he was not even given a medical discharge as a result of it. So there is so much that needs to be done. And I think that, I would have been more than happy to have stood up in front of that room and said my piece. And I will not be able to go back to another one of those mess dinners of fear of actually being probably thrown out. But to be honest, I don't really care. So I can imagine that I'm going to get a few comments on this. Some people may agree, some people won't. So, feel free to comment, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.